When the worlds around the galactic core were first colonized by humans in the far distant past, they discovered vast, almost limitless mineral deposits. These resources included compounds that had been smelted in the furnaces of dying stars, and also strange substances that had been formed when the galaxy was born and before the laws of physics had even stabilized. The discovery of these materials was very auspicious, as the resources of the homeworld had been long exhausted, and as a consequence, the exploration and exploitation of the galactic core had been deemed imperative for the survival of humanity. Hundreds of thousands of miners, engineers, and explorers in a specially adapted spacecraft were sent to exploit the newfound wealth of the core, which quickly turned into one of the most densely populated parts of the galaxy. Due to the inhospitable physical characteristics of these worlds, here, these frontier folk, these tough miners and explorers, they began to change. Over the course of probably thousands of years, the physical experience and appearance of the settlers of the galactic core rapidly changed, and they began to develop into a new race, adapting to the hostile environment, the monotonous diet of algae-derived foods, and specifically the high gravity of their worlds. The colonists became shorter, more compact, more resilient, and tougher. This was also accompanied by the development of a distinctive cultural identity, eventually even acquiring a new name, the Space Dwarfs, and then eventually evolving into the Dwarf Guilds. Hello again, my friends. This is your host, Greg, and we are back on Legendary Tabletop, checking out the Dwarf Guilds from One Page Rules. And we've also received a neat gift from Mini Wargamer Dave over at Mini Wargame Studios. The Ravaged Star miniatures have been released. There's been a successful game found, and they also have a very cool dwarf, futuristic dwarf faction. So we are going to print some of these wonderful models from One Page Rules. We're going to print the little boy from Ravaged Star here. We're going to look quickly too. I'm going to put a link below too. There's a game found Kickstarter type crowdfunding thing going on for this. It's a 40k rules light, similar to One Page Rules, sponsored by the wonderful community of the Mini Wargamer Dave. Many people who are involved in this community know them and are familiar with their videos, and they've created a really cool line. And this is not sponsored at all, and I've pledged to this, and I cannot wait to get these miniatures. But in the meantime, we have some cool stuff coming from One Page Rules, and while we're waiting for these awesome, check this out, these things are so cool. These are PVC miniatures. There's a whole art thing and lore connected to this. Awesome stuff. There's kind of like a Tyranid type, a Chaos type, and a Space Dwarf Guild. And check out these guys. This is some of the stuff that I've pledged for, and cannot wait. These awesome mechs, these little kind of like ornithopter looking things. Awesome looking miniatures. Cannot wait to get these, and of course when we get them we will show them to you on the channel. But in the meantime, we have printed out some of these One Page Rules models to get started, to kind of like get a theme going, and because I really want to build an army based out of these models. They're awesome. I love One Page Rules. And of course there will be like all the links below to this stuff if you are interested. And I based these boys with some plastic bases, and also one of my favorite large bases is poker chips. They're real sturdy, they're real thick, and they are good for some of your larger models. And I got my tacky glue here, and I am going to pre-base these little short kings, and with a little bit of sand and some of these kind of medium size rocks and tacky glue, as I give you that little yummy ASMR, putting that tacky glue all over the base there. You know, sometimes I base before I prime, sometimes I base after. It kind of just depends on what I'm doing. And if you do print these models, I would actually recommend basing and then gluing the boys after you're done painting them, because as I sort of went along with this paint scheme and doing these boys over the matter of a few weekends, I noticed there's definitely a lot of like really tight detail, and my old ass with my vision and you know, my reflexes and all the caffeine that I drink and the shakies that I have, it was a little bit difficult. So we still got it done, and they look great. Love these models, but the details on these are awesome. So keep that in mind if you do that, because I definitely am gonna do it separate once I decide to print more. And here I am priming these boys. I'm going to use primarily speed paints, contrast paint, so I'm going with white prime here, and you'll see also I'm priming some of the vehicles that I printed, and you're going to see them in a different video, and just giving these guys a couple nice sprays from from about a foot away, moving the stream. As you can see my little backyard here, and yeah, getting them all primed, and then whipping out a bunch of these speed paints for my scheme here. And these are the colors that I'm using, and I'm doing kind of the normal method that I do, which is slappy choppy ish with start with speed paint, and then I go with a couple highlights and edge highlights, just, you know, a couple weekends, nothing too crazy, just to get them nice and tight for the tabletop. So I take that back, no slap chop here, we're going for pure color. And I'm starting with this, I believe this is Sand Golem, one of the Army Painter speed paints, which I love. I use them in most of my videos. It's very rare that I do the old school type of painting these days. And then I'm using this grayish runic gray blue type color for the beards, you know, like kind of creating this sort of alien type skin for my spacey dwarfy boys. And for the armor, I'm using Grim Black and the Fire Giant Orange for the weapons as well. I'm gonna create this sort of dark metal, which I think goes really well with the orange, because the issue for me is, as a lifelong collector of these little miniatures and war game stuff, is I have a lot of armies with different colors. So it's like I have to kind of, you know, can't do blue because I have an ultramarine army, you know, can't do red because I have a Eldar, old school Eldar army. So one of the few colors I had left was orange, but thankfully it worked. And I believe that the Games Workshop, a lot of their releases lately, that the Leagues of Voltan, which they've put out, their kind of little answer to the Space Dwarfs, you know, bringing back the retired squats of old. And those have a lot of the box art is orange. And then I'm going to leave some of the spots on some of the boys. I like that guy a lot. Some of the spots on some of these boys, I'm actually going to leave white. And this may be, you know, pretty obvious to a lot of you who are fans of miniature painting, though. When you do execute these schemes on your army, say you have 3 different colors, obviously don't do it the same on each armor. Like, give each boy, girl, whatever, the same, and not the same spots. Pick a shoulder pad, do that in the second color. On the next guy, mix it up, and then you'll get more mileage on your scheme. And I think too, it looks a little bit more natural, believable, immersive, that sort of thing. And if we're gonna boil it down to the artistic aesthetic, it looks better. And some of these guys they kind of have a couple of these dudes. Oh, here I am going back with some white, which is a nice way to easily repair some of the speed paint that's spilled over, because we do get sloppy sometimes. And these are the larger guys. These are pretty cool. You're going to see the links below. They have kind of like a more heavy infantry. They have these cool little crystals and glowy parts on them. And I'm going to do like a turquoise and a bluish color on those. And they have these other guys that are like sort of medic looking, Bilbo Baggins of the future. And I'm actually going to leave some of their armor white to indicate like the medics. I'm using like a green on some of their equipment to differentiate. There's that Ravaged Star guy that I got. Links to the game found below. There's the leader boy, the boss boy, and then these heavy boys. So yeah, we're coming along really quickly here. And usually I do slap chop, but I'm liking how this is looking with just the plain white primer. So now that we've speed painted pretty much everything, we're going to start the highlights with our wet palette here. And you can see that I'm basically creating a bunch of different gradients that I'm going to eventually mix together so that I can enhance and do all the highlights on each of those parts. So you can stop at the speed paint, but I like to take it a little bit further and apply kind of the old school method on top of that, and go into the spaces that may not have flown to the right portion, and just take these boys to the next level. And I'm starting with this nice orange armor, and I'm doing an orange to yellow kind of highlight on most of the edges and some of the spaces on the armor that are going to be hit by the light. And also focusing on these spots where maybe it's next to the other colors, in order to almost kind of create a difference between some of the areas, to enhance the different locations on the model. Yep. And then here's these guys. They've been highlighted a little bit, and it's up to you how long that you want to spend on taking these guys to the next level. And usually my thing is, I have a full-time job, as many of you do, and it's not always easy to, I might only have a few hours a week that I can get to these. So generally I kind of like limit my time on highlights and cut it off at a certain point so that I can live my life, that sort of thing. And then here I'm going to dry brush metallics. I'm using some Vallejo paints, and to dry brush the black portions that I painted with the Grim Black to kind of create a nice, easy metallic look. Make sure that you have a paper towel, wipe clean that metallic paint, because if you're trying to dry brush and you leave a little bit too much paint on there, you can easily ruin, or if there's a little bit too much water on the brush, you can easily ruin the dynamics that you created with the contrast paint. So you have to be careful there, but to use a paper towel. And we're going to do a brown base here. We have some plans in a future video to create a new board that's like a jungle-y board. So these boys are going to go there. That's going to be their little home. And I'm using this green-brown paint here. You can see how that's turned out on this this Bilbo Baggins boy, and I'm gonna dry brush with like a pale sand tan sort of color here. You know, same angle as before. Wipe that paint off, make sure your brush is not too wet, and whoop, slippy, drop that. Well, we got some tufts here, some tacky glue. Always one great hobby trick is you know, just always keep a couple toothpicks on your desk, because if you have fat old man fingers like me, it's hard to place. And but yeah, so it's the brown paint around the rims over the nice dry brush with some tufts, and these guys are looking pretty good. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this simple scheme here. And some things we might have not caught on camera were the highlights of the glowy parts. Some of the belts and the other like clothy equipment we did blue and green. We also highlighted that with some of our more opaque paints. The portions of the armor that we left white on the Bilbo Baggins kind of guys, we did a little speed paint too, and a highlight to enhance that white. But thanks for coming by. Thanks for checking out. We got more of these videos coming, and we're going to roll that beautiful bean footage.